The myth of American exceptionalism. I think we all grew up hearing it, that America is the greatest country in the world, the land of opportunity. I know this as a first-generation American who was not born in the United States, but immigrated here at age 7. I remember my grandparents telling me everything was beautiful here and better. Not only was I excited to get to America finally, I was thinking that once I got here, my mind would be blown at how beautiful it was in comparison to my home country of Belize. I would say Belize is by far a beautiful country, and it makes no difference where you're at. Home is where the heart is. But that's not what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about exceptionalism, what America has branded itself as. Taking the time to read through some interesting articles published by Yale professors, Harvard professors, and their view on America. And think, many of these people were born here in this country. I think as an immigrant, we can all say that we can all judge our own countries, and we can all say that there are good and bad of wherever you live. Don't mind this. I burnt my hand on my stove. I was trying to get something out of the oven. What if the story about America being the most exceptional in the world isn't true? It's a myth. American exceptionalism is less about greatness and more about a belief system. Because the one thing I did notice about Americans was their idea of being exceptional isn't something that was proven. I mean, are they better than any other country? By the way they do things? Probably not. There are countries like Japan that are, way faster at putting up roads and streets. And in fact, I saw a TikTok video of a guy saying, here in Arizona, why are there orange cones everywhere? Can't they just get the job done? Places in China, big cities in China that have done things so expeditiously that our minds are in awe. Even their subway systems or their train systems in those countries are just like a sight to be seen. They're getting around much faster than we are here in America. American exceptionalism means believing the U.S. is unique, chosen, morally superior, somehow exempt from the rules everyone else follows. Yes, this idea tracks back centuries ago. So according to some of these articles I read, to 1630, when Puritan leaders like John Winthrop told his followers their new colony would be a city upon a hill. The world, he said, would watch them, and they had to live as God's chosen example. Fast forward a few centuries later, that sermon became a national identity. Politicians quoted it. Presidents sold it. From manifest destiny to modern foreign policy, we built an empire around the belief that America's mission is special and even sacred. But what happens when a nation starts to believe its own mythology? Well, we tell ourselves stories about freedom and democracy, and you hear that word slung around quite often in politics, while ignoring how much of that freedom was built on stolen land and enslaved labor. We talk about liberty and justice for all while leading the world in incarceration. There are people in prison right now that should not be there for crimes committed during a time when certain things weren't acceptable, like marijuana. Or now there's even cannabis dispensaries that it's legalized. So you ask yourself those questions like, is it really exceptional what we have going on here when we have the most incarcerations than any other country?
Start with our economy. Take a look at the OECD, the group of industrialized nations most similar to the US, and you'll immediately see that we're kind of a freak show. Americans make more money than any of those other countries, and we also work longer hours than most of them. That might also be part of the reason we've got nearly 60% of the world's largest companies, own the biggest homes, and have the highest disposable income. And of course, that comes with trade-offs. We're also the only OECD country that doesn't require paid leave for workers.
So that's one of the biggest things is, for me, it's not so much that America doesn't have amazing people with like amazing ideas and are talented and smart. It has to do more with the fact that we have so much and yet we give back so little to the people. What do you mean doesn't require paid leave for workers? I mean, even in a third world country, even in my country, my home country, there's universal health care. you can walk into a hospital and be treated. Sure, it might take a bit longer, but I was just back home recently and I had to go to I think I had cut my leg, or I was riding a bike and I cut my bottom of my foot. And I was like, where do I go? And my dad was like, just go to the hospital. And I'm like, yeah, but don't they need an insurance card, or how much would I have to pay? And he's like, well, we have a private hospital. I mean, if you want to go to that one, it costs more money, but you can go to the hospital for free. I think I waited maybe 30 minutes. My cousin came with me and I was in and out of there. They gave me the medication I needed to ensure I don't get an infection, bandaged my foot, and I was out of there and no bill. That's what I'm talking about. So,
And the one where it's the easiest to fire employees.
You're fired.
We're an outlier on taxes, too, with only about half as much going to the government as in a country like Denmark. But then we also spend significantly less on social welfare programs. Which doesn't mean we're indifferent to people who've fallen on hard times. Because another way we're exceptional is that the U.S. leads the world in charitable giving, the highest contributions of time and money to those in need. In fact, while a country like
that's something that has always stuck with me too. Being here in America, I notice Americans give the most. In fact, just the other day, I was scrolling YouTube and I came across a video. It was like an AI generated video of, the Bible, and someone donated $50 in the super thanks. And I'm thinking the video had so many flaws in it, and it wasn't even well done because they were talking about the Old Testament and they had crosses in the background, and somebody still donated $50 to this person for making an AI generated video that takes zero time at all, zero brain cells. You just ask AI to create a script and you put that script into CapCut or Filmora or any kind of after editing program, and say pump out some assets, some visuals. There's no thought going into that. And yet somebody gave that person $50. We have the biggest level of GoFundMe in the world. Like, we have the most generous people. When you look at it, our streets are dilapidated. Like I said, it takes forever for us to get anywhere because we don't even have operating systems where people can just take a fast train like they do in Japan. It's just everything overall is getting worse for the American citizen, but yet we do the most. The other thing that I find that Americans do is they call themselves the defenders of peace or the police of the world. We have the largest military presence on earth. That's not hate for America. That's honesty about the contradiction. The only way is peace through strength, and peace through this image. Again, this boils down to an image, and it's the reason why Donald Trump renamed the Department of Defense Department of War. You create an image of a strong country that if you try to provoke it, it will protect itself. This is a video actually that my husband sent me of some, I guess, National Guard. These are National Guard people in DC. And I hadn't shared this video yet because I wanted to see, is it really happening there? Are they really creating this military presence to deter people from doing any kind of crime? Now, obviously, I'm anti-crime, okay? I believe that you need to have a country that is ridding itself of crime, bringing the crime rates down. But I think of other countries where they have this presence, and even in my country, they have this presence where they have a lot of stops where they just have police presence, police guards standing around. And it is a way to ensure that people stay in check. Still, there's a lot of people I know people that are afraid to go through TSA. They just don't like the feeling of being patted down or someone rifling through their things. I don't know if you're like that, but I know people who are, and they've told me so. They get massive anxiety. The myth of exceptionalism thrives because it feels good. It's comforting to believe we are the good guys. It simplifies complex realities into moral clarity. We are right, they are wrong. But it also blinds us. It creates a moral immunity, a belief that America can't possibly be the problem. And that is how the myth protects itself. Politicians invoke it constantly. They say, America leads, or the world looks to us. So if we are truly exceptional, we wouldn't need to keep saying it. We'd prove it through empathy, fairness, and self-awareness. And yet the myth persists because it's useful. It justifies the power that America keeps. It sells patriotism. It fuels an economy built on identity and pride. You see it in our education, history textbooks that highlight heroism, not harm. You see it in pop culture, America as savior, the center of every global story. You see it in politics, both parties promising to restore America's greatness, as if greatness were something you could lose like a set of car keys. Well, pride can be healthy, okay? Having respect for where you live. Exceptionalism gives us permission to ignore inequality, poverty, which is rampant right now in America, healthcare failures, racial injustice, as if those are small details in a bigger triumphant story. It teaches citizens to confuse criticism with betrayal. Asking questions isn't allowed, you know? But the truth is that the most patriotic act you can commit is honesty. To love your country enough to see it clearly as it is, with all its flaws and warts and all. Patriotism doesn't need perfection. You can still be imperfectly perfect. It needs accountability, it needs humility, and it needs to stop pretending that being exceptional makes us immune to mistakes. If America really wants to be great again, it starts with honesty and teaching the full history, not just its victories, but by leading with integrity and not dominance, by remembering that greatness is inherited, it's earned every generation. So maybe America is exceptional, not because we're flawless, but because we have the freedom to face our flaws. And that's what makes the myth worth breaking. This country boasts the most diverse community of people. No one could tell me differently, because of the willingness of people from all walks of life to say, we are Americans, we're all one in America. When it's time to come together, that's one thing Americans do exceptionally well. And I just want to see an America where we do that again. And remember, the best way you can help my channel grow is to just hit a like or a comment. You don't even have to subscribe technically, but engaging with this video shows the algorithm. This is the kind of content we should be pushing out to the world, not content that divides us. Have a great day. Think for yourself.